Look, your marketing dashboard is probably telling you a really compelling story right now. It says the campaign worked, right? The leads were cheap, the conversion rate went up, your customer acquisition cost fell, and revenue actually hit the bank. So logically, you did what anyone would do. You increased the budget. But then your operations team actually received these customers. Suddenly, onboarding is taking way longer than expected. Your support volume is spiking out of nowhere. The team is out there creating all these manual exceptions just to get the job done. The actual value of the product arrived late. Some customers just completely disappeared, and others, well, they started demanding refunds. And yet, if you go back and look at your advertising dashboard, marketing is still high-fiving and calling the campaign a winner. In this explainer, we're going to break down exactly why that illusion is so incredibly dangerous for your business, and more importantly, how to fix it. Let me just be blunt here. A sale is not proof that your marketing actually worked, period. It really only proves one thing, that marketing produced a transaction. That's it. If you want to know whether your business actually acquired the right customer, you have to follow that customer through the entire journey: qualification, onboarding, delivery, and the actual proof of value. An acquisition system that's just relentlessly optimizing for the absolute cheapest transaction, you're usually just buying future failure at a steep discount. The core issue we see all the time is that businesses completely separate marketing from delivery. Marketing is out there popping champagne for the sale, while operations inherits a massive hangover. Customer support is left to absorb the complaints, and finance is just quietly recording the refunds. This fragmentation is exactly what allows a campaign to look incredibly profitable inside an advertising dashboard while simultaneously producing massive losses everywhere else in the company. Your dashboard isn't necessarily lying, it just stops way too early to see the operational damage it's causing downstream. Okay, let's dive into this and completely reframe how we look at CAC, your customer acquisition cost. It is not just the price you pay to go out and buy a customer. Think of it more as a penalty. It's a penalty you pay to filter the market. Every single ad dollar you spend has two very specific jobs: to attract likely buyers and to aggressively filter out the wrong people. Because look, a business without strong filters basically just becomes a charity for time wasters. Good marketing doesn't try to attract everyone. It actively makes the offer less attractive to incompatible buyers. Let's look at two totally different paths side by side so you can really see this trap. Check out campaign A. The CAC is super low, just $300. The immediate revenue looks fantastic, but it attracts customers with totally incompatible expectations. And what happens? High rework, endless complaints, and refunds. Now compare that to campaign B. The CAC is significantly higher, $500. Ouch, right? But wait, these customers breeze through onboarding, they receive value way sooner, they stick around longer, and they actually refer other people. If you're only looking at the early metrics on a typical advertising dashboard, campaign A looks like the undisputed champion. But it's an absolute false winner. It wins the click, it wins the sale, and then it systematically destroys your margin. The campaign happily takes credit for the sale, but zero responsibility for what happens to the customer afterward. A true winner is an acquisition path that reliably produces customers who are actually economically sustainable for your business in the long run. Now, in our previous explainer, we talked about how to handle one single legitimate claim using the negative price ultra guarantee, which is represented by this blue -1 tag. We showed that when value genuinely goes missing under this standard, it creates a real financial consequence. The price actually goes negative, and that consequence is what activates a high-pressure investigation to find out what went wrong. Well, today, we are taking that a step further. We're moving from looking at one isolated claim to aggregating all of those signals to guide your market-level direction. Which brings us to a concept we call the two-sided penalty compass. Think of it like this. Your pre-sale signals, stuff like clicks, conversions, your CAC, those tell you which audiences and promises actually generate demand. But you absolutely need the second half, your post-sale signals, delivery success, how much effort the customer had to put in, claims and retention. Those tell you whether that demand actually deserves to be scaled in the first place. The first side finds the demand. The second side validates it. So the really crucial point here is how you treat failure. Refunds, for example, should never be treated just as a financial loss, and you definitely shouldn't automatically blame the customer. That's a huge mistake. Refunds are brutal, backward-traveling segmentation data. They're screaming at you, revealing systemic flaws in your process. When you classify them correctly, a refund doesn't automatically mean the customer was just a bad fit. It might actually mean your marketing found the perfect customer, but sold them on completely the wrong promise. And this perfectly illustrates how we need to categorize that failure. When a claim comes in, you have to decode it. It could be an audience failure, meaning that specific segment just isn't equipped to get the value. Or maybe it's a message failure, where your ad essentially wrote a check your product couldn't cash. Or actually, it could be a qualification failure, when a sales rep lets an incompatible case slip through just to hit their end-of-month quota. Then you have delivery failures, where the process itself breaks down. Or proof failures, where the value was delivered but it was so invisible that the user didn't even recognize it. You have to trace the failure back and correct the exact point where things went off the rails. To truly, honestly understand your marketing performance, you have to measure the full customer acquisition cost. And I mean full. This isn't just your media spend. You've got to bake in the cost of the time spent qualifying them, the extra support tickets, the manual rescue operations, the rework, the refunds, and those -1 penalties. You need to look in the mirror and ask, how much did it truly actually cost to acquire, serve, prove value to, and retain this specific type of customer? Now, while claims are incredibly useful because they show you exactly where value disappears, you also have to pay attention to the exact opposite signal. Fans, customer advocates, they show you where value becomes undeniable. And by the way, a fan isn't just someone who likes your brand on social media. A true fan is a customer who received a clear, measurable result, recognized the proof of that result, and then voluntarily stayed, bought again, or told their friends. Both of these signals, the claims and the fans, give you vital, complementary direction on what to do next. So, let's tie all of this together into one continuous operational system. We call it the CAC-to-Claim direction loop. This is a framework that connects the entire customer journey completely seamlessly. It ensures that your marketing attribution never, ever ends at the moment somebody clicks buy. The loop kicks off with attract and filter. You're out there testing specific combinations of audiences and messaging. But remember, we don't treat general attention as success here. The only goal is qualified demand. So you have to run a really sharp audit and ask, who did we actually attract and what exactly did we promise them? Did our marketing filter successfully clarify what it takes to succeed, or did we just hype it up and create a massive expectation gap? Next up, we move to deliver and classify. This is where you follow the customer well beyond the sale. Did the promised value actually arrive? And was it proven to them? You need to measure things like time to value and customer effort. How hard did they have to work to get the result? And crucially, when you classify the results, you aren't just looking for those legitimate -1 claims. You have to capture the silent churn. Those are the disappointed customers who don't even bother complaining. They just quietly stop using your product and walk out the back door. Once you've gathered that data, you hit reallocate and retest. You use the reality of that entire journey to decide what changes. Sometimes you might actually need to pause your acquisition entirely while you fix a recurring defect in your delivery. Listen, you do not double down on winners before you've actually defined what a true winner is. If you just blindly buy more ad traffic while your current customers are screaming about a systemic failure, you aren't scaling your business. You're just scaling the failure. Let's ground this in a real, practical, operational example. Imagine a software company running a campaign that promises to remove manual reporting. It's a great hook, it converts incredibly cheaply. But the implementation process requires 3 weeks of manual data cleanup because the customers attracted by the ad lack baseline readiness. So naturally, refunds spike. The correction here isn't to go back to Facebook or Google and buy better ads. The necessary correction is to narrow the promise, introduce a data readiness assessment right up front, and fix the onboarding process before you ever buy another click of traffic. Look, every advertising experiment you run is basically asking the market a question, and losing variations are completely inevitable. But failed tests are useful only when they actually force you to change a decision. Random spending without learning isn't marketing, it's just waste. You simply cannot optimize for cheap acquisition at the expense of repeatable, proven outcomes. Marketing has to be a directional, evidence-driven engine. It is not a casino. And really, this entire operational mindset is the absolute foundation of NegBook. If you want to definitively stop funding failure, you have to pressure test the entire chain, from acquisition right through to delivery. And that is exactly what the -1 diagnostic is designed to do. It ruthlessly examines your target market, your messaging, your qualification paths, all the way down to your proof standards and claims. It does this so you can definitively identify your false winners and correctly reallocate your budget to the things that actually work. The bottom line is, your marketing data absolutely cannot stop the second a payment clears. You have to connect the audience to the promise, to the delivery, to the claim, and ultimately to retention. If you suspect your dashboard is lying to you and you're finally ready to repair your broken marketing loops, you need to apply for the -1 diagnostic. You can do that right now at negbook.com/negative-price-standard. I want to leave you with one final thought for this explainer today, something to really make you completely rethink how you approach business scale. This sale is not the finish line. Honestly, it's just where the real test begins. Do not scale the campaign that buys the cheapest customers. Scale the system that repeatedly creates and proves value. So take a hard look at your dashboard today. Which one are you currently scaling?